how did World War I start? Some call it the Great War, the first of its kind, a conflict so serious that a lot of countries from all over the world set aside their peace and joined the fight. But how did the war that was supposed to end all wars even begin? What were the motivations of the countries that participated in it? More importantly, who won? Many believe that World War I started when 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip gunned down the Serbian nationalist who was supposed to inherit Austria-Hungary's throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Because of this, some countries formed an alliance to seek revenge. But wait, this story was only the tip of the iceberg, because the actual conflict between the countries involved in World War I started in the 19th century. After the war between France and Germany, also known as the Franco-Prussian War in 1871, Germany came out on top. It was able to conquer two provinces in France, Alsace and Lorraine. To make sure France won't be able to recover it, Germany negotiated with other European countries to form an alliance and become even stronger. This way, France won't be able to fight Germany head-to-head. Germany became allies with Italy and Austria-Hungary, and they were called the Triple Alliance. They also had an agreement with Russia, although it needed to be firmer since it had a bad relationship with Austria-Hungary. You'll know more about it in a while. On the other hand, France was embarrassed by their defeat and was scared of Germany, so it formed an alliance with Russia. Feeling threatened by Germany, Great Britain also entered into a friendly understanding with France and Russia. They, in turn, were called Triple Entente. Germany wanted to take over Europe, believing they were the superior race. This was influenced by Charles Darwin's survival of the fittest. In their minds, they are the rightful leaders of Europe. Russia also started to feel threatened by Germany's growing power and wealth. In addition, Russia was always known as the protector of Balkan nations. Serbia is a Balkan state, and they were the main suspect in Archduke Franz Ferdinand's assassination. But why would they do it? Along with the booming economy of Europe, the sense of nationalism has also risen. People started loving their culture and their roots. This, of course, includes the Slavs towards Serbia as a Slavic nation. They wanted to liberate the northern Slavs from Austria-Hungary and form a greater Serbia. This primarily came from the extreme sense of nationalism of a young man named Gavrilo Princip, which led him to shoot the heir of Austria-Hungary, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and his wife. He did it when the couple visited the city of Sarajevo in Bosnia, southern Austria-Hungary, and the territory that wanted to be a part of Serbia. Did you know that many people wanted to kill Archduke Franz Ferdinand the day he died, because the public already knew that his death would mean freedom for the Slavs? But he was able to survive the first attempt, and the soldiers that were accompanying him were the ones who got wounded. When he tried to visit the soldiers, his driver turned wrong on the street Gavrilo Princip was waiting in. There, Princip successfully executed the assassination. The Serbian government became the main suspect in the crime. This was the start and why the conflict between some European countries morphed into an all-out war. It took a month before Austria-Hungary officially declared war against Serbia. This was because they were worried their reputation would take a hit if they attacked first. They also ensured that Germany had their back before going into war. Germany wasn't against the idea of war and immediately supported them. Austria-Hungary sent an ultimatum to Serbia before the war. Serbia had to follow their wishes within 48 hours or an all-out war would occur. That having said, Austria-Hungary's wishes were almost impossible to follow. Serbia still did every single one, except for one, and that was their approval for Austria-Hungary to investigate them for the death of the Archduke. In truth, Austria-Hungary had already decided to start the war. They only wanted to pass the blame to Serbia by giving them an ultimatum. Austria-Hungary declared war against Serbia first, and Russia immediately readied its military force for the upcoming fight. When Germany found out, it declared war against Russia and later against France. Some European countries saw the war as an opportunity to showcase their strengths and sense of nationalism. Every country thought it would only last for a couple of months and they would eventually win. But they were wrong. Germany was fighting two battles, Russia from the east and France from the west. They planned their course of action very carefully to come out on top. Because they already knew how strong Russia's military force was, they attacked France first. To enter Paris, they asked a favor from Belgium to join their route. They wanted to defeat Paris and immediately send their troops to East Germany to fight Russia. But what happened next surprised them. Firstly, Belgium didn't give in to Germany's wishes, so Germany also waged war against them. Britain was responsible for protecting Belgium, so when Germany attacked it, Britain joined the war. Furthermore, Britain was also worried that if Germany won, it would rule over all of Europe. After Great Britain joined World War I, Austria-Hungary also declared war against Russia. On the other hand, Italy was supposed to be on Austria and Germany's side, but they jumped the fence and instead supported France, Britain, and Russia. Germany and Austria did not really worry about Italy, since the Ottoman Empire, which we now know as Turkey, sided with them. The war between the Triple Entente, or the Allies made up of France, Great Britain, Russia, and Italy, versus the Central Powers of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. Let's go back to Belgium, France, and Germany's situation. The battle between the three countries was getting intense. Germany's plan to attack Paris failed, and to make things worse, Russia prepared its troops faster than it anticipated. Russia quickly took over Prussia, which made Germany transfer some of their troops to the Eastern Front. The rest of the troops on the western side could advance towards France, but it was quickly pushed away by the combined forces of the British, French, and Belgian army. As an alternative, the Germans tried attacking ports in the English Channel to damage the supply lines, but they failed in what is now called the Battle of Ypres. Almost 250,000 soldiers died in the battle. Germany figured the war would last long, so they began trench warfare. The soldiers suffered through horrible conditions in the trench. It was dirty, full of rats, and cold, and food was limited, and the corpses around the area were starting to smell. Because of the new technology and tools, the war was a brutal one. Thousands of lives were lost on the Western Front, but no one won the battle. On the Eastern Front, the soldiers' movements were even more apparent. At first, Russia won and Eastern Germany fell apart, but as days passed, Commander Paul von Hindenburg was able to move German forces back. It was followed by the Austro-Hungarian army. Russia was starting to struggle. Its soldiers weakened and supplies ran out. They couldn't send them supplies since their enemies controlled the supply routes. Germany in the Baltic Sea and the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean in the Black Sea. Russia's forces continued to get weakened as a civil war has exploded inside the country. When Russia's Tsar was replaced, the government signed an agreement where they claimed that they could no longer continue the fight and admitted defeat. They were forced to give Germany some parts of their territory. But this wasn't a loss for the Allies, since the US had already joined the war. They finally joined when the Germans targeted some of their ships. On the other side, Japan joined the Allies and received some territories from Germany. Portugal also sided with the Allies. The territories of some European countries in Africa started their own wars too. Italy also declared war against Austria-Hungary. Because of the ongoing war, Germany's supply was waning. To make things work, a rebellion was happening inside the country. Turkey and Austria-Hungary were the first countries to surrender. And when the Kaiser was ousted and replaced with a new one, Germany finally surrendered too. This surrender brought the soldiers out of the trenches, embracing each other as the war ended. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was finalized. It was the peace treaty that officially ended World War I. It was signed by the Allied powers and Germany at the Palace of Versailles in France. The treaty imposed severe penalties on Germany, including significant territorial losses, military disarmament, and war reparations. More importantly, it established the League of Nations, an international organization that aims to prevent future conflicts, but as we know now, failed in its mission. The treaty's harsh penalties towards Germany only contributed to another major conflict and the rise of one of the most formidable villains the world has ever seen. But that's a story for another time. It's sad to think that all of this happened not because the whole country wanted to go to war, but because of one man's thirst for power and money. The decision to enter an all-out war didn't come from the ordinary people, but from the leader blinded by power. Now, here's the question. Did anyone win that war? The simple answer is no one, and no country did. Everyone in every country suffered, and it got worse after. Countless people lost their lives during World War I. But it wasn't the end, because after the war, Germany slowly got up and recovered. And, well, you know what happened after.